Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and today we're looking at a birthday scrapbook that I put together using the photos from a surprise birthday party that was thrown for me over 15 years ago. I've had this scrapbook. I have it out in my house and it's still in great shape. So you can make them yourself, but you can still keep them nice and sturdy. It's protected with this clear page protector, and I have to tell you, as it gets dusty and dirty, periodically I replace just this page protector. I'd say maybe once a year or so I put a fresh one on. The binding system, we're going to look, this is called, if you get it at Staples, it's called ARC, A-R-C, and if you get it online, it's called Roll-A-Bind, but we'll see how to do this. I have a cover, and I've kept my cover shorter than the pages inside because I want you to be able to enjoy the rainbow effect of the inside pages. When I open it up, you can see that the pages have been graduated in length and graduated in width so that you have all this neat rainbow effect. Lots of journaling, lots of photos. They happened to have this at a restaurant, this surprise party for me, and I truly was surprised. I had no idea. And it's so much fun for me. I go back through this all the time. But you can see it's just a very simple thing to add the pages. If you haven't seen how this binding system works, look at how easy it is to remove a page. This is the binding holes, and we'll see how to do those. And then the little discs are actually doing the binding. So when you want to put it back in, it's much like using a Rolodex, putting a Rolodex card back into a file. That easily, it's back into the book. So every once in a while when I need to make a copy of a picture and I don't have, this was my one original, I just take the whole thing out and make a copy right from that page. You want to start with this neat rainbow effect inside. It's not difficult. It just involves, I would say, measuring, but I use my paper trimmer, and the paper trimmer has the measurements on it, so it's really very simple. But if you look at all of the pages, the width this way of all of these pages is 9 inches. So you have a 9-inch width, and then these you can see are graduated. So what you want to do, I started with 16 different colors. I'm going to show you at the end another way that you can do that with less colors. If you wanted to do 8 colors and repeat them twice, or if you wanted to do 4 colors and repeat them 4 times, or I have used just 2 colors and I'll show you how cool that looks at the end. But I started with 16 different colors. So if you look here, behind every one of these is a second color. So I just have them in sort of a rainbow order. And the measurements, as I mentioned, everything is 9 inches long, but the first 2 colors are 3 inches tall. So the first 2 need to be trimmed 3 by 9. The next 2 are 3/4 inches taller. So it's still 9 inches by 3 3/4. And if I put these all together and tamp them, you can see that every 2 pages I add 3/4 of an inch, so that when I get to the final one, it's 8 1/4 by 9 inches. So that's how you start, by cutting every 2 pages in 3/4 inch increments, starting with 3 inches for the bottom, the very first one at the bottom. So in order to get this graduation where you have this checkerboard effect, you need to trim off of the 9-inch edge every other page. So if I pull these back up and show you, remember the first 2 pages were 9 by 3? The second one is going to stay 9 by 3, but this first one, I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch off of the edge so that I end up with the red being 3 inches wide, but instead of being 9 inches tall, it's 8 1/4. So every other one, you're going to pull from the list. This one is 8 1/4, and then you leave the second one. This one is 8 1/4, and you leave the next one. This one is 8 1/4, and you leave the next one. So can you see how every other page you trim 3/4 of an inch off, and that will result in this cool checkerboard effect all the way down the edges. Then when it's time to create the cover, you have 2 choices. You can either make a cover. Most people are used to having the cover of a scrapbook cover the whole thing, which you can. So if you want your cover to cover everything, then it ends up being 9 by 8 1/4. I decided I wanted to see the rainbow effect, so I chose to trim mine down 1.5 inches off of this end so that I could see all of this variation in color. So this one ends up being 8 1/4 by 7 1/2. And of course, when you make it yourself, that's the beauty, you can decide. After you've created the cover to whatever dimension you want, then I think it's fun to cut a window out to help you start to see all this, as well as what's going on the edge. You can see all the fun things going on inside. Now inside the window, notice that I've used die cuts and stickers to overhang some of these pages. So I can see, if I rest this here, that my cover is going to end up showing this section. That's what it's going to feature. So if I want to take mirror image stickers like these from Mrs. Grossman's, or if you use die cuts, you don't have to worry about mirror image because you just turn it over and use the flip side. But mirror image stickers, the sticky sides need to, when they're stuck together, the picture needs to align. So if I wanted to use this balloon, I'll show you what I mean. This sticky side, if I just set this like this, it's not going to match up. It has to match up when it's flipped over, the mirror image. So I'm going to take, and I'll decide if I want this to show through, that I want this to overlap, let's say maybe on this page. I'm only lightly pressing it down because I don't want it to stick to the other pages. I just want it to stick to the base of this page. So I'm going to then pull this, turn it over, take the mirror image sticker, and I realize I have this upside down to you. Let me go ahead and stick this on top, and then I'll turn it right side facing you. So you can see that you end up with these cool embellishments that are visible through the window. And if I stick this back where this goes into all of the pages, let me tamp these all back down again, and place the window cover back on, you can see how you start to see that. I'll bring back the original and show you, because there's lots of die cuts and stickers that I used, some which show through the window. I also used a white or a silver pen to handwrite happy birthday. But all of these, how many embellishments you choose in here, of course, that's completely up to you. Once again, I love the fact that when you make it yourself, you get to decide. Now, I talked about the binding. The binding system allows you to be able to bind it, put all the pages together, and then when it's time to add the photos, it's easy to pull it out, add your rub-ons, add your journaling, add whatever information you want, and then just put the book back together. So usually once I've done all the cutting, then I go back and I do the binding. And let me show you how I do that. Here is the binding system, and I picked this up at Staples. You can also get them online. If Staples calls theirs ARC, if you look here, you can see ARC is what they call it, but you can also get it online, and they call it Roll-A-Bind. What you want to do is you want to start first with the cover, because all of the pages are going to be this same height. This is 8 1/4 inches. So when you place this into the binding tool, what you want is an even amount of space above the top hole and below the bottom hole. So there's a guide here that you can slide back and forth. When it looks like it's set up so that you have a nice consistency with an even amount above and below the hole, you push it against the edge and then just press. And it will cut, you can see how it will cut all those binding holes. Then you just start, and you can do easily a couple at a time. So I'm going to take the bottom 2 pages. You want to tamp them so that they're tucked together. Each time you tuck them against that guide and push. And so now I have the next 2 pages. Then I'm going to take the next 2 pages after that, bring them in. They're a different width, but as long as I tuck them against the bottom, I'm good to go. So if I bring these back, you can see how you start to develop what will be the binding edge. I'm not going to cover it up by doing this, but you can see the cover would align as well. If I have these all tamped together, you can see how they're going to align as well. Then you come back in with these little discs, and depending on how many pages you're going to have, you just slide the disc between. I'll do one in white, I'll do the next one in red. The discs come in different sizes and different colors, and once again, you can get them at Staples or you can get them online. But look at how it starts to bind the pages of the book. So it is a very, very simple thing. Now, if I decide at some point in time that I want to add more pages into this book, it's easy enough for me to take a disc out and switch out for the next larger size. It is just a very cool thing, and it makes putting the scrapbook together very fun and very easy. Now, I mentioned you don't have to have 16 different colors. Here is a baby book that I created. I used a different binding system. It's called ProClick, but it's basically a plastic comb binding, and you can get it online, or you can go to any copy center and they'll do the binding for you. But when I open it, you'll see this is just done with two colors, a deep and a soft shade of pink. I have kind of the same format with the window opening, and I have the stickers and die cuts that I've used for the inside pages, but the checkerboard effect is created just by alternating every other page with two different colors. You know, who knew? Something as easy as trimming the page edges would result in such a good looking scrapbook. Go figure.